In this video, I'll show you exactly why I think the crypto market is about to head into one of the biggest altcoin seasons we have ever seen. This means that those 10 to 50x gains on your favorite altcoins are right around the corner if you've positioned yourself right. So, how do you prepare for it? And how do you know when to buy those juicy altcoins that will perform the best? And also, how do you find them? First, I'm going to show you why I think the altcoin season will likely begin within the next few months or so, and then I'm going to talk about what to look out for so you can find the best altcoins to buy up. So, one of the main indicators of an altcoin season is the Bitcoin dominance chart. Now, I found a great chart on Twitter that displays exactly what I'm talking about. You can see here, this is the Bitcoin dominance chart, and it clearly displays the beginning of an altcoin season. Back in 2021, the altcoin season basically began in January, and while the Bitcoin dominance was slumping and going down up until May, that was one of the biggest altcoin seasons we had ever seen at the time. You can compare it to Total 3, which is the total market cap excluding Bitcoin. Now you can see back in January of 2021 it was right around here at $200 billion. And the total market cap went up basically something about 4 to 5x. Why did it dump? It was because Bitcoin dumped. And when Bitcoin dumped at around May of 2021, the Bitcoin dominance also, of course, it went up for a few months. While it was going up, the altcoins dumped, but then they had their second leg up. Now, how does this correspond with the current narrative that I'm talking about the upcoming altcoin season? Just like any other asset, you can chart out the Bitcoin dominance, and you can clearly see that there is a resistance level right here at around 60% for the Bitcoin dominance. And we are currently just another 5% away from hitting that 60%. That can take probably around a month or two, maybe 3 months. And that would, in my eyes, mark the beginning of the altcoin season, which means that this is the perfect time to start accumulating on your altcoin positions. 2021 was my first bull run, and I remember clearly during this time frame of around March to April, I could not find a single altcoin that hadn't already done a 10x. And we are currently in this position, comparatively speaking, we are here. We are right before this large peak, which means that pretty soon we're going to be in a similar position where we won't be able to find any altcoins that have not pumped yet. Which means that also this is the best time to be accumulating them. So you can sell all of your positions when we start peaking out again. Just to demonstrate my point, I'm going to show you a few coins from the last bull run that were the big runners, and I'm going to show you what their charts looked like at the time. One of the big runners was Filecoin. You can see on 4th of April of 2021, which corresponds with the alt season top, Filecoin was priced in at $180. Filecoin now is priced in at $6. So that's a pretty big retracement. Ever since the altcoin season ended, it's been just dumping and it hasn't really seen any large legs up. Now, I'm not saying that you should be buying up these old altcoins, because actually the thing is, you got to be looking out for the new altcoins that are popping up. Just like Filecoin last bull run, it was a new coin, and guess what it did? Right before the alt season, it released and it was sitting at roughly $24. What it did next was basically an 8 to 10x from that point on. If we look from the bottom, it was a 10x. Another coin to look at is Litecoin. It's a bit of an older one. On 5th of April, it was roughly around $200 and it peaked out right around May 3rd at $300. So that was an 8x for an old coin that's been already there for several years. That's how big the alt season is. That's how much gains it can produce. Even for the old coins that are kind of dead, like Litecoin. Another big one was Theta, priced in at $11 back in 4th of April 2021. Now you can see it released back in 2018. It started going up even before the alt season began. And just before it started, back in November, if you had hopped in even this late when it was at an all-time high, you would have gained roughly 20x. And it's a large cap. This is not a shit coin. This is a big cap. That's why I'm so bullish about this. Because you don't need to be searching for shit coins or the next meme coin. You can just literally buy up a large cap that has a solid product running. And you're going to see a great return on it. That was a 20x from roughly about this point. And if you got in a bit later, that was still a 5x. Obviously, I don't think this one is going to do as well. But it just goes to show it was a new coin back then. And it did absolutely amazingly. If you got in even earlier, that would have been about a 50x. That's insane. If you catch a 50x, that's like from $100, 5 grand. Or from 1,000, 50 grand. That's crazy. Another great one, and very infamous one, was Terra Luna. Now we all know what happened with Terra Luna back in beginning of May, which was also at the same time as Bitcoin crashed. It just basically went to zero. It drives the point even further. If you just got in early on Terra Luna, and I'm not talking extra early, you wouldn't have even needed to be like extra early. Terra Luna basically had a second bottom right around here, which was right at the beginning of the altcoin season that it had in 2021. How much X did it do? It did a solid 20x from that point. Another good one, PancakeSwap, priced in at $16 back in April of 2021. Also, another coin that was released right before the altcoin season. It was released in September of 2020, so that was basically like 5 or 4 months before the altcoin season began. And if you just found it before the alt season and bought it here at around 60 cents, that's another 50x. 50x. STMX was also a very, very promising altcoin back in 2021. I remember I bought it and I still made a profit even though I was very, very late. Also another one just released right before the altcoin season. If you bought it in December of 2020, this one went absolutely bonkers. That was another 25 to 30x to the top. Not sure what they're doing right now. Don't think they're gonna pump as hard. They might, but I'm not betting on it. Chili's, another great one in 2021. This one was released a while back, like a year before, but it still performed really well. If you hopped in right before the alt season, you saw 50x, 60x even. So you get my point. Basically, if you want those big gains, you need to look for new altcoins. You don't need to be looking for the old ones. Now in the current cycle, there's a lot of new ones that I will talk about in this video in a bit, but I just want to drive the point a bit further why you shouldn't be looking at the old ones. For example, XRP. Look at XRP. It's been trending sideways ever since 2017. The return on investment it did, if you bought it right before the alt season began, you would have seen only a 2x, 2 to 3x. That's nothing compared to the new coins. What is it going to do nowadays, before the alt season? Maybe a 5x at the best scenario, best case scenario, 5x? Why would you waste your time on XRP if you can just find a good new coin that's launched and do a 50x? Obviously there are some exceptions, but how you look out for those is by comparing the price of an altcoin to the Bitcoin price. And in that way you can see how well it's been doing against the Bitcoin price. Let's see XRP for example against Bitcoin. So if you compare it against Bitcoin, it's just been going down. You don't want to buy coins like this because it's just likely going to continue not performing that well. History shows it's just been underperforming against Bitcoin ever since 2018. And these charts look pretty much the same for all of the old altcoins. They all basically do a big run on the first bull run that they do, and then they just underperform against Bitcoin for the rest of eternity. Litecoin is the same. Same thing here. It's just putting new lows against Bitcoin all the time. Why would you risk your money investing in something like this if it's just going to do a 2 to 3x in the alt season, or maybe 5x? So as I already said, you need to be looking out for those new altcoins. So I'm going to show you a few newer altcoins that have much more potential than these old dinosaurs. So one of them is SolChat. I definitely think it might run up again. It's only at 50 million. I wouldn't be surprised if it goes to 1 billion because it actually has a solid and working product. Now you can just look at the gains it did, and this isn't even in the alt season. This is before alt season began in the current cycle. Alt season hasn't even technically began in this current cycle. We've just seen new coins launch and then pump. But what happens if a coin like this goes to 1 billion, which is completely realistic in the alt season? If it's at 50 million right now, 1 billion would be a 20x from here. 20x puts it at around $146, whereas now it costs around $6. So look out for coins like these. It hasn't dumped, it's still working, the team is still there. Why would you bet on an old coin if you can bet on something new that's probably going to do a bigger X? Another one that's basically launched a few weeks ago is Copycat. It's right now sitting at roughly 900,000 market cap. Now I'm not saying this one's going to go to 1 billion or something, but it might still do like 50x, go to 50 million easily. It has a working product as well, and there's a lot of coins like this. You just got to look out for them. Now, I already covered a few other altcoins in my previous video, so if you want to check out which altcoins I'm currently looking at, you can just check out that video. I also compare their prices against the Bitcoin price so you can understand clearly why I'm so bullish on them. And most of them are also pretty new to the scene, so they might do a huge run during the next altcoin season. Just a few tips for those of you who are in a bull run for the first time, as I already said, watch out for those new launches, be active on Twitter, look what's going on. If you see any promising new projects on active chains like Solana or any new chains that might come up, be open-minded. Don't be closed-minded and just be bullish on XRP, because XRP is not going to do that well compared to other altcoins. Another thing is you need to be taking profits. And how do you take profits? Because if you don't take profit, you're just going to see that 50x run up and you're going to look at your portfolio and you're going to be like, wow, I'm rich. And before you know it, it's going to dump back down like 50%. And it happens really quickly. Like this pump right here for SolChat. Just as quickly as it pumped, it dumped. It peaked and it stayed in that peak only for a day. And then it dumped back down something about 50%. And that happens with most altcoins. The same thing. It might do a run up back again and you can sell it right there because it's going to do a lower high. That's the key thing here. You got to watch out when it peaks and dumps. It's going to do a retracement and that's when you just sell it because it's probably not going to go up. If it does a 50x, you're good. Just sell it. You don't need to be holding for 300x or something. Take your 50x and move on. Trust me. You're going to be much better off securing those profits than holding your bags until the next bull run, because that's actually what happened for a lot of people during the last bull run. They bought during the peak of 2021 and they bought way too late, and then they just had to hold for freaking 3 years until they saw some sort of a return back to their initial position. If you're watching this video, you are early, which means that if you buy up these altcoins during the next few months, you're probably going to be in a really good position to sell them when they start pumping. Watch out for those big X's. Like if it does a 10x, probably you should take some profits and leave the rest for the next 20x that it might do. Also, you got to look at the market cap. It's a pretty obvious thing. If you're invested in something like Render, it's already at 3 billion market cap. Like it can do a 10x, but realistically speaking, it will not surpass like 50 billion or $100 billion. That's just unrealistic. You can just have a look at the previous bull run peak, which was in April of 2021. That's when the market peaked basically, and you can see here the market caps of altcoins. Bitcoin was at almost $1 trillion, Ethereum was at something about $300 billion, and then there were a few altcoins that were near $50 billion. So look at the market caps. If you think that the coin is going to do a 10x, but then you multiply their current market cap by 10 and it's like 100 billion, it's probably not going to hit a 10x, even if it's so bullish. Even if it looks really good, it's not going to hit it. You got to look out for that as well. Have realistic targets. Those 50 or 100x's that I'm talking about, it's when you get in basically on coins that are right around this area of $500 million or $100 million or even less. Coin like SolChat easily can do 20 to even 50x because it's only at $50 million. So if you made it this far in the video, I appreciate you watching. You rock, and I'll see you on the next one.